So I finally played Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush is a game that I completely missed out on when it was announced. I was super busy at the time, and I didn't even bother to watch the developer direct where it was announced. Lo and behold, this is one of the best games of last year. It was shadow dropped the day it was announced. I remember people would not shut up about it, but not in an annoying way. It was actually very exciting to hear that this game was something so special. This game really is just a breath of fresh air in the modern games industry. This is a game that is colorful, vibrant, fun, funny, super charming, not 8 million hours long, has little to no microtransactions, and has a ton of replay value and unlockables. This is the kind of game that would have been released when I was a kid, that we don't see anymore, and the type of game that I really wish we got more of. It took me a while to get to this game, but I'm really, really glad that I did. Why don't we start by talking about that gameplay? Holy moly. So, Hi-Fi Rush is entirely rhythm-based. Everything in this game is set to the beat. It's kind of insane how far they take things. The entire world is set to the beat. Things will move around you in response to the beat of the music. All of your combos that you can do are based on the beat of the music, and you're rewarded for staying on beat by dealing way more damage and gaining way more points. On the flip side of that, enemies will also attack you based on the beat, and you'll have to parry them also on the beat in order to defend yourself. So basically, if you have no sense of rhythm, stay the hell away from this game. The only thing that saved me was playing percussion in like 7th grade, so thanks middle school band class. This game easily has one of the best combat systems I have ever experienced in any game. You know, I've played tons of Devil May Cry games, Platinum Games titles, plenty of games like that. And yet I feel like I actually enjoy this game's combat more than any of those games. And I know I'm going to get crucified in the comments for saying that, but it's true. A lot of those games, for me, have the issue of being as wide as an ocean, but they take forever to get to that point. You know, Devil May Cry games at the beginning are always kind of boring to me because you don't have a lot of your combos, you don't have a lot of your weapons, your special moves. And sure, the point is that you replay the game over and over and get stronger every time, but I'm not really the kind of person who does that. I kind of prefer my games to be exciting on the first playthrough, and then I just never play them again. What this game does instead is, instead of gating away the really satisfying aspects of the gameplay, it just simplifies everything down and focuses on one core aspect, which is that rhythm-based combat. You can unlock a bunch of different combos and special attacks, but from the get-go, this game is just satisfying to play because you're doing things based on the beat of the music, and that is just inherently fun to play. It feels great listening to this banging rock music in the background, and you're just whacking these robots in the face with all sorts of crazy maneuvers, and it's fun. It's fun, and I feel like a lot of games now are not that. And that was what really stuck out the most to me about Hi-Fi Rush's combat, is that from the very beginning of the game till the very end, it is just fun. It's never boring. It's like a roller coaster ride. It just keeps on going, and then the game's over, and you're like, wow, I want to get right back on that ride. That was awesome. And thankfully, this game does have a lot of really great post-game content. There's a whole bunch of unlockable alternate modes. There's an endless mode. There's a turbo mode. There's another one I didn't even get to play. There's a whole ton of different unlockable costumes, special moves, lots of things to just keep me coming back. And I want to come back because the combat is just so much fun. By simplifying things really heavily, the developers of this game managed to really encapsulate what makes action games fun, in my opinion. I feel like this would be a great first action game for a lot of players because it doesn't take a whole lot of mechanical skill. The most skill-based aspect of this game is staying on the beat. So, you know, if you do have trouble with rhythm, that might be a stumbling point, but the majority of the combos in this game are just 2 buttons. It's just X and Y. There's also your partner abilities that you unlock by progressing through the campaign. These are more situational, but they're also a really big help, and you can unlock various ways to integrate them into your normal combos that honestly make them a lot more satisfying to use, because Normally you're just calling them in by hitting the right trigger, but eventually you can unlock different combos with them that incorporate their abilities while not getting in the way of the flow of the game, which I think is honestly the way to go. Overall, this game's gameplay is easily its best aspect, and honestly, once I'm done making this video, I'm going to go right back and go play some more because it is so much fun. Speaking of partners, let's move on to characters and story. This game's story is very simple. It's basically like a Saturday morning cartoon, which is clearly very on purpose. This game does not take itself seriously at all. There is so much goofy fourth wall meta humor in this game, just completely making fun of how insane and ridiculous that this entire situation the characters are in is. But it's never done in a really obnoxious or annoying way like a lot of games do now. Insert that one Forspoken clip here. Instead, it just stays really charming throughout the entire game, and I found myself laughing a whole lot at how this game is written. And what's also cool about this game is that it does actually have a lot of interesting themes going on without being really preachy and annoying about it. There's a lot of anti-corporate and anti-capitalist sentiment going on here, and I really liked how they handled it because they don't go on and on in giant speeches about what this company is doing and how it's bad. Instead, they just show the effects of what they're doing and how they treat their employees, and I thought it was just so effective while also being really funny. I mean, it's comical. But even then, the entire spirit of the game is about music and creators and creativity. And a lot of the villain's plan is getting rid of that creativity in favor of just control and obedience. And the way that all of these different themes are integrated into the story in a natural way without being super overbearing or preachy is just really impressive. It's not some like magnum opus of a story. It's mostly just a vehicle to get from A to B to get to every level and fight the bosses, but there are a lot of interesting things going on here, especially in how the game presents its ideas. But what's easily the best part about this story is the characters that are partaking in it. Oh my god, this is one of the best game casts I have ever had the pleasure of experiencing. Each member of the cast plays around with a character archetype that you've probably seen in a lot of other forms of media. Chai is the slacker, Peppermint is the sassy mission control, Macaron is the anxious mess, etc., etc. But they're all done in a really lovable way, and it's never annoying. Chai may be a slacker and he doesn't really want to be here this entire adventure, but he's never annoying about it. He's always lovable, just down to the way that he's written. And that lovable factor extends to every character in this game, even the bad guys. The bad guys are some of the best villains I've ever seen in any game. These guys are so comically evil, but they almost kind of loop around and become iconic for it. You hate them so much and you hate what they do, but at the same time, they're just so funny because they are so ridiculously evil. The way everybody is written in this game is just really fresh, and everybody is relatable in some sort of way. There's never that character that doesn't feel like a real person. And in that way, the characters of this game just really work for me. Of course, we also have to talk about the music. It is technically a rhythm game after all. Music in this game is fantastic. I thought I wasn't gonna like the original score that they did for this game, but man, this is a great soundtrack. There's a lot of licensed songs, especially for the boss fights, but even the songs that just play in the regular levels are fantastic. I've been listening to a whole bunch of them just while working on this video because I just think they're great songs. The composer had the really difficult task of creating songs that, while sounding good, are also really clear to listen to the beat and play along to. And in that regard, they really succeeded. I loved this game's soundtrack, and I never had a song where I just couldn't find the beat. That's often an issue for me in other rhythm games, is that some songs are just hard to play along to, but Hi-Fi Rush never had that issue for me. And on that same note, we have to talk about the presentation. The presentation in this game absolutely slaps. I love games where they have a very clear and consistent visual identity. There's no sorts of crazy, weird, bland nonsense going on in this game. Everything is very crafted to fit the specific aesthetic these developers are going for, and it's great. This game proves that cell shading is the superior form of video game graphics. I will not be taking questions on this. Character animations in particular are on point. Oh my god, this game has some of the best facial expressions I've ever seen in any game. A lot of games have an issue of becoming super uncanny because they try to be realistic. This game veers in the total opposite direction and just makes these characters into cartoon people, and it's wonderful, okay? This game has infinite profile picture material, if that makes sense. It's colorful and it's vibrant, but it's also visually clear. It's easy to see where the enemies are, and there's never just so many colors and crazy effects going on that you lose track of everything. And I think that's really impressive. Normally the last thing I really talk about in these videos is my criticisms, but I honestly can't think of any. I didn't really have any issues with this game. Not any super glaring ones anyway. I thought the gameplay the entire way through was smooth and fun, and I never got super frustrated. I think maybe a couple of the boss fights could have used a bit more work because they do have sort of wonky mechanics going on, especially the mimosa fight, but it was nothing that really got in the way of my enjoyment of this game. There was never that moment where I was pissed off at the game and just wanted to put it down. On top of that, the game runs like a dream. I played it on PC, and I had a nearly locked 165 frames per second at 1440p. I had a great time playing through this just because of that. Plus, it has ultra-wide support, so thank you Tango Gameworks for actually supporting us ultra-wide freaks. But in conclusion, Hi-Fi Rush is fantastic. Seriously, go play this game right now. Video's over. Go play it. You have to promise me that you're going to play Hi-Fi Rush. It is worth your money. If you want to play it on Game Pass, you can do that too, but I honest to God think you should go on Steam or wherever else you're going to go and just buy it straight up. The developers deserve that money. They've created a better game than most larger developers can ever dream of creating. This is the kind of game that we should be supporting being released in the modern age. I really, really hope that this game gets a sequel and gets even more of a fan base because it deserves it. This is an artistic achievement that not a lot of games can even come close to being, and I absolutely loved it. Anyway, that's my thoughts. My name's Night Paradox, and I hope that you all have a good night.
You got a killer track. But every song's gotta end.